So the next step is we add in our chicken. So this is our chicken breast. It's already buttered. You mix it in the marination. Yeah. So that's our marination.
It needs to fully consume everything.
Yeah. It has to. The marination has to be consuming the breast so that you can get that flavor. Yeah. So that the marination can be absorbed into the breast. This is our beef bacon.
Yes.
Just tap it a bit. You just lay over on top of the chicken breast. Lay over the bacon.
Okay.
All right.
Just once.
Just once, yeah.
Okay.
Just one strip of bacon. Lay it on top of the chicken. Then the next process is cheese. So this is our freshly grated mozzarella. Eh?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is fresh. So you sprinkle it on top. Sprinkle on top, on top of the bacon. So beef bacon. So some olives. Those are olives, black olives. Right? So those are black pitted olives. Then we are good to go. So definitely whatever you're going to get here is basically Italian, Spanish. So that's where we're headed to. So we are trending.
Yes.
So we have to keep up with the time. Huh?
Oh, we're keeping up, Chef. Keeping up.
Yeah.
Moving on
So okay, now we have to throw on top some basil, just to give it that flavor, just to give it that touch. Okay. So this is fresh basil. It's fresh from the farm. Yeah. So expect the flavor that is gonna come out of here to be perfect.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. Now, so this is our final process. Then you fold it around. That's the procedure. So all the ingredients that we put here have to be, all the content has to be wrapped by the chicken breast. Then the next process is roll it over. Roll it over. So we bake it in the oven at a temperature of 180 degrees.
Okay.
For around 20 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is our oven.
My heart doesn't like it.
It seems like it doesn't like you. So in our baking tin, you just put it inside. Then in the oven.
I don't know why I was of the assumption that it was going to the fridge first.
Oh, it doesn't need to go to the fridge.
Presumptive tax makes you come in the tax net, in our database, in that we have tied presumptive tax to payment of single business permit. And the single business permit is collected by the counties. So presumptive tax is 15% of the value of the single business permit. There has been misconception outside there that KRA is double taxing the small taxpayers. I believe you've heard that. This is a total lie. It is propaganda which is meant actually to make the informal sector feel that they are being double taxed by the authority. You have also heard that KRA has introduced a tax that is crippling businesses. It is because of this misconception. So presumptive tax is an advance tax by the taxpayer. So if you paid presumptive tax today of 1,000 and your TUT for the month is 500, you will not pay KRA anything for the first month, because you will reduce that 500 which you are supposed to pay from that advance tax you paid earlier. And you will still carry forward another 400 to the next month. So there is no double taxation there. It is just reducing your liability with what you had paid earlier. So presumptive tax, we are getting single business permit data from the counties. We have received from several counties. 1 or 2 are yet putting their records together to give us the data. So we are working very closely with the counties such that this becomes a success.
There's no news story that is in touch with the needs of the audience like a business news story. Therefore, as a business anchor, it is in my mandate to understand the source of the story and, most importantly, consequences of the story. Which means before I take that script into my hands, I have to be close to the story. I have to experience the story, or simply, I have to live the story. It's Friday, the 5th of July, 2019. It's 1 p.m., so welcome to Metropol News at 1. My name is Nina Shaban.
Ukiwa na shilingi 5,000 waweza fanya nazo nini? From street to street and from estate to estate. Tumekuwa tukiangazia biashara kadha wa kadha ambazo tumeweza kupata mawaidha hapa pale, jinsi ya kuwekeza na hata pia kuikuza biashara. Aha, ishakuwa. Haya basi, wewe ungana nami Tabitha Muthoni ndani ya show ya Mwananchi. Show ni The Hustle. Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Focus of body and mind is crucial for a productive day.
Work on the obliques.
We'll look at trends that affect your business day.
Who has a bird's eye view of the whole economy?
These are things that the government should be able to spell out for Kenyans.
An in-depth analysis of the markets.
Markets have been very fearful.
Deploy the capital into investment opportunities.
Business headlines covered extensively.
71 years.
Inspire the whole spectrum of entrepreneurs.
Maneuvered in the harsh economies and all that.
With financial and business literacy in a language easy to understand.
At the simplest form, contracts. The creation of the human mind.
As we look at the boss lady in her element as a woman and a boss.
That women can have access.
As we journey you through farms and produce markets.
This is money.
Taking a breather and even in that, learn a thing or two.
Global map of growth rates.
Taking a look at the business of entertainment.
Movies, fashion, beauty.
Following the money in sports.
Then you widen your stance.
Before switching off our mics and let you have your say.
The economy is undergoing a serious hardship.
Looking at technology as it affects your day-to-day business.
The customer will get notification.
This is Metropol TV.
Markets Today is a place you need to be every single day on Metropol TV. We give you access to insights with regards to the financial market. What is happening? Where are people making money? Where are people losing money? And where do you need to place your money? We speak to the decision makers in this industry, the chief executive officers, the chief finance officers, permanent secretaries, people in the cabinet.
Money is starting to circulate.
Central banks globally are trying to offset that.
Consumer spending patterns.
Now let's look at the numbers.
We've not raised a single shilling of new equity capital.
To understand where is your money going to actually grow in the near term.
The market in which financial securities are exchanged, right, traded.
On Metropol TV, and I am your host, Bithe Mwema, and see you then.
It's agriculture that is the key driver of the Kenyan economy.
Anakuletea na kuzia bei ya chini na wewe inabidi pia uzie customer na bei ile ya chini.
For fresh beans, I can say it actually brings a good income.
Kama ni gunia moja iko na 200 pieces, so hiyo shilingi 5 times 200.
Actually, rainwater is the best for crops.
Whether rain-fed or using rivers to irrigate.
Tunapanga kuweka drip line kwa shamba.
We had thought that we could pump the water with solar.
Different farmers have shared their stories on how they're turning produce to profit.
Akipata kama miti 300 hivi, atakuwa akiokota pesa kama majani.
This is money eating me.
All this we have extensively covered.
This is a test greenhouse. I put it up to see if we can produce organic tomato. I'm not lying, it's very sweet.
And different things that farmers are doing to make profit from produce.
Kuamua ukulima wa makadamia ilikuwa ni kama ndoto.
We are still growing.
Weka mbolea vizuri inakuwa kitu ya kukusaidia.
These are net caps.
Other than the French beans you can see, we also have veggies.
Assume the reason why you're using hydroponics is because of the soil-borne problem.
Catch us every week on the Farm Journal here on Metropol TV. This is the Farm Journal.
When you hear the word business, what comes to mind? Skyscrapers, fast-moving economy, technology and innovation, dollar versus the shilling exchange rate, financial markets, or better still, the US versus China trade war? Is there a magic bullet that can spark Kenya into economic growth? How about this? How is Africa the next economic frontier? What does that even mean? Questions that keep popping up. Is foreign aid helping Africa develop, or rather is it stagnating it? Does good politics translate into economic development? Well, on Metropol Debrief, we break down business, telling you why it matters and showing you how and when it affects your bottom line. This and much more on the new season of Metropol Debrief at 8 p.m, where we're bold and balanced.
Ukiwa na shilingi 5,000 waweza fanya nazo nini? From street to street and from estate to estate. Tumekuwa tukiangazia biashara kadha wa kadha ambazo tumeweza kupata mawaidha hapa pale, jinsi ya kuwekeza na hata pia kuikuza biashara. Aha, ishakuwa. Haya basi wewe ungana nami Tabitha Muthoni ndani ya show ya Mwananchi. Show ni The Hustle. Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Focus of body and mind is crucial for a productive day.
Work on the obliques.
We'll look at trends that affect your business day.
Who has a bird's eye view of the whole economy?
These are things that the government should be able to spell out for Kenyans.
An in-depth analysis of the markets.
Markets have been very fearful.
Deploy the capital into investment opportunities.
Business headlines covered extensively.
71 years.
Inspire the whole spectrum of entrepreneurs.
Maneuvered in the harsh economies and all that.
With financial and business literacy in a language easy to understand.
At the simplest form, contracts, the creation of the human mind.
As we look at the boss lady in her element as a woman and a boss.
That women can have access.
As we journey you through farms and produce markets.
This is money.
Taking a breather and even in that, learn a thing or two.
Global map of growth rates.
Taking a look at the business of entertainment.
Movies, fashion, beauty.
Following the money in sports.
Then you widen your stance.
Before switching off our mics and let you have your say.
The economy is undergoing a serious hardship.
Looking at technology as it affects your day-to-day business.
The customer will get notification.
This is Metropol TV.
Do you want to know what makes a business successful? Capital. It starts with working capital to fulfill your obligations for, let's say, 1 year. And when you're ready to expand and maybe you may not have the necessary resources, then you take on debt capital, which you can take from a bank or from somebody else if it's money. And when you grow and you want to expand your business even further, you could take on equity capital by listing your business on a private or public market, and then people invest in the shares. On the Capital Point, we rely on data and insights from business leaders from across the economic divide who are at the top of the capital ladder so that your capital investments are well informed. At this time on Metropol Television.
It's agriculture that is the key driver of the Kenyan economy.
Anakuletea na kuzia bei ya chini na wewe inabidi pia uzie customer na bei ile ya chini.
For fresh beans, I can say it actually brings a good income.
Kama ni gunia moja iko na 200 pieces, so hiyo shilingi 5 times 200.
Actually, rainwater is the best for crops.
Whether rain-fed or using rivers to irrigate.
Tunapanga kuweka drip line kwa shamba.
We had thought that we could pump the water with solar.
Different farmers have shared their stories on how they're turning produce to profit.
Akipata kama miti 300 hivi, atakuwa akiokota pesa kama majani.
This is money eating me.
All this we have extensively covered.
This is a test greenhouse. I put it up to see if we can produce organic tomato. I'm not lying, it's very sweet.
And different things that farmers are doing to make profit from produce.
Kuamua ukulima wa makadamia ilikuwa ni kama ndoto.
We are still growing.
Weka mbolea vizuri inakuwa kitu ya kukusaidia.
These are net caps.
Other than the French beans, you can see we also have veggies.
Assume the reason why you're using hydroponics is because of the soil-borne problem.
Catch us every week on the Farm Journal here on Metropol TV. This is the Farm Journal.
When you hear the word business, what comes to mind? Skyscrapers, fast-moving economy, technology and innovation, dollar versus the shilling exchange rate, financial markets, or better still, the US versus China trade war? Is there a magic bullet that can spark Kenya into economic growth? How about this? How is Africa the next economic frontier? What does that even mean? Questions that keep popping up. Is foreign aid helping Africa develop, or rather is it stagnating it? Does good politics translate into economic development? Well, on Metropol Debrief, we break down business, telling you why it matters and showing you how and when it affects your bottom line. This and much more on the new season of Metropol Debrief at 8 p.m, where we're bold and balanced.
I'd like to start by thanking you all for the support that you've provided on the youth agenda, specifically the jobs creation agenda, and the outcome that we share with respect to ensuring that the wage productivity balance is realized. And this has been primarily achieved through the cooperation of the Kenya Association of Manufacturers and the Ministry of Education. And today we have two major outcomes. First, the enrollment has increased to 400,000 students in technical vocational training institutions. This is a 200% increase. And secondly, we have transitioned the entire national system from a supply-driven system to a demand-driven system, introducing occupational standards in all work that we do with respect to curriculum reform and assessment being carried out by industry. We resolved to continue this cooperation and increasing cooperation in the East African community with respect to ensuring that we address collectively aspects of social, economic, and environmental issues, creating a greater interdependency and the ability to look at the East African community as one single market with a value proposition of your investments and your further value chains at an extra level, but at the same time addressing the protection of the community and its markets and promoting the highest level of links and galvanization between the states to address outcomes of global opportunities and global value chains and other kinds of opportunities. On the issue with respect to doing business indicators, as industry, you're aware that we look at this from a process perspective, and therefore everything from starting a business to employing workers to getting electricity and all the other fundamental issues will be in close cooperation with your involvement and inclusivity with respect to ensuring that we're able to find ways in which we enhance the overall productivity, innovation, and efficiency of elemental issues. And this will depend highly on our ability to work together.
When you hear the word business, what comes to mind? Skyscrapers, fast-moving economy, technology and innovation, dollar versus the shilling exchange rate, financial markets, or better still, the US versus China trade war? Is there a magic bullet that can spark Kenya into economic growth? How about this? How is Africa the next economic frontier? What does that even mean? Questions that keep popping up. Is foreign aid helping Africa develop, or rather is it stagnating it? Does good politics translate into economic development? Well, on Metropol Debrief, we break down business, telling you why it matters and showing you how and when it affects your bottom line. This and much more on the new season of Metropol Debrief at 8 p.m, where we're bold and balanced.
Do you want to know what makes a business successful? Capital. It starts with working capital to fulfill your obligations for, let's say, 1 year. And when you're ready to expand and maybe you may not have the necessary resources, then you take on debt capital, which you can take from a bank or from somebody else if it's money. And when you grow and you want to expand your business even further, you could take on equity capital by listing your business on a private or public market, and then people invest in the shares. On the Capital Point, we rely on data and insights from business leaders from across the economic divide who are at the top of the capital ladder, so that your capital investments are well informed. At this time on Metropol Television.
My name is Nina Shaban.
My name is Fred Makori.
My name is Simba Elijah Shalsky. Tuesdays are for public governance.
Well, you have a point. You do have a point. But at the end of the day, you can't let an industry know.
Wednesdays, talk night. That's time I just said, we're not working. And Thursdays, company business.
Our revenues have dwindled by close to 25%.
The question is how, considering this was a company that was on its way to liquidation.
I'll be taking you through Friday Business, the software. Who is bigger? Is it the owner of the taxi, the driver, or the taxi firm? Turns out that it's the driver, according to NTSA.
18 good hours a day was steering.
It's easy to forget how blessed you are when you surround yourself with toxic people. It's easy to forget how capable you are, how kind you are, how good life is.
It's easy to forget all of your qualities when you surround yourself with the wrong people. It's easy to forget that you have a mind of your own, that you have choices, that your voice matters.
Show me your crew, and I'll show you your future.
I'll show you your future, because your future is a reflection of what you allow in your life now.
Toxic people aren't necessarily evil people. They aren't necessarily bad people. They are usually not toxic to everyone. Sometimes they are just people that aren't good for you. Sometimes you're both just toxic for each other because you're not in alignment with each other.
How can you expect to associate with toxicity and not become toxic yourself? If you hang around people who are sick all the time, common sense will tell you it's only a matter of time before you get sick. That's what happens when you hang around the wrong people. They infect you with their negativity and they make you sick. They make you sick with negativity. They make you sick and tired. They make you sick of everything, including yourself and the life you're living. If you want to advance your life and your friends don't, you have a choice to make. You can either choose to live a life according to your standards or live a life according to the standards of your friends.
If the people you are hanging around by choice are not making you better, they are making you worse. Make no mistake about that. The people around you should be making you feel better about life, no matter what is going on. Take a moment to think about all the people you spend the most time with. How are they making you feel?
This is your life. You set your standards. Here's some common sense math for you. Add some winners to your life. Subtract the drainers. And that will add up to a better life.
They say you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So who are you spending the most time with? And do you want to be the average of those people? The average of their kindness? The average of their integrity? The average of their desire to improve? The average of who they are as complete human beings? Or can you do better? Do you know you are capable of better? Better emotions, higher expectations, better results? If so, it is time to make a change.
It is so much more than just the people you hang around. It's the books you read, the TV you watch or don't watch. It's the people you listen to, the things you choose to believe. Whatever you consume will consume you. Whatever you allow in your life becomes your life. You have to be ruthless with everything and everyone you allow in your life. If you're hanging with people who have no standards, you have no standards. If you want to raise the level of your life, raise your standards and increase the quality of the people you spend your time with. It is your choice. This is your life. You set the standards. It's okay to live a life they don't understand. It is okay to live a life your family doesn't understand. Your childhood friends don't understand. This is your life. It's not for them to understand. It's for you to thrive, to live to your fullest.
If you choose to hang around people with no morals, sooner or later, you'll have no morals. If you choose to hang around people with no respect, what does that say about you? If you choose to hang around people who are not nice to other people, what does that say about you? If you choose to hang around people who act in a way that is against your values, then you too are going against your values. If you choose to hang around with drifters, it's only a matter of time until you too will be drifting. If you are choosing to hang around people with no ambition and no desire to improve themselves, do you think you have any chance of improving yourself? You must choose better. You have to surround yourself with people who make you better. People who hold you to higher standards. People who actually have standards. People who are good people. I'm not saying this is going to be easy. It's one of the hardest decisions we have to make as human beings, choosing who to spend more time with, little time with, and no time with. But what would you prefer? A life spent people-pleasing, falling in line, never standing up for what you know is right for you, and therefore knowing that you will never live your fullest life, or standing up for yourself, standing up for your values and morals, and walking in whatever direction you know is right, regardless of whether anyone else is on that path or not. I want to go to my grave knowing I always did what was right, not what was easy, not what was most pleasing to the majority, not what fit in with everyone else's comfort. What is right? And that cannot happen if you are hanging around with low-value people. You cannot spend time with toxic people and expect to live a great life. You cannot spend the majority of your life with toxic people and expect to be happy.
Wake up! Choose people who hold you to a higher standard. Real people, honest people, genuine people, good people. Choose your crew. Don't settle like most people. Choose, and choose wisely.
It is your choice.
Do you want to know what makes a business successful? Capital. It starts with working capital to fulfill your obligations for, let's say, 1 year. And when you're ready to expand and maybe you may not have the necessary resources, then you take on debt capital, which you can take from a bank or from somebody else if it's money. And when you grow and you want to expand your business even further, you could take on equity capital by listing your business on a private or public market, and then people invest in the shares. On the Capital Point, we rely on data and insights from business leaders from across the economic divide who are at the top of the capital ladder so that your capital investments are well informed. At this time on Metropol Television.
Welcome to County number 24, West Pokot County. Its capital and the largest town being Kapenguria. Historically, Kapenguria holds a piece of the heart of Kenya's independence in memory of where the fighters were imprisoned, the famous Kapenguria 6. Besides Kapenguria, it has other divisions, namely Alale, Chepareria, Chesegon, Kacheliba, Kasei, Kongelai, Lelan, and Sigor. The county is under the governance of His Excellency Professor John Lonyangapo, who is a seasoned politician, deputized by Dr. Nicholas Owon Atudonyang. The county's administration is divided into 10 departments, each headed by a county executive commissioner. The economy of West Pokot is mainly driven by agriculture and livestock rearing, its main crops being maize, finger millet, coffee, beans, potatoes, and pyrethrum, among others. In an aim to make lives easier, the Turkwar hydropower plant operated by electricity generating company Kengen is situated here, producing about 105 megawatts of power, which is fed to the national grid. Geographically, Mount Mtelo is also grounded here. Some of the notable residents from the county are Tegla Lerupe, a world record holder for 20, 25, and 30 kilometers long-distance track running, and Lona Chemtai, a Kenyan-Israeli Olympic marathon runner. Welcome for a cup of fermented porridge any day in West Pokot County.
It's agriculture that is the key driver of the Kenyan economy.
Anakuletea na kuzia bei ya chini na wewe inabidi pia uzie customer na bei ile ya chini.
For fresh beans, I can say it actually brings a good income.
Kama ni gunia moja iko na 200 pieces, so hiyo shilingi 5 times 200.
Actually, rainwater is the best for crops.
Whether rain-fed or using rivers to irrigate.
Tunapanga kuweka drip line kwa shamba.
We had thought that we could pump the water with solar.
Different farmers have shared their stories on how they're turning produce to profit.
Akipata kama miti 300 hivi, atakuwa akiokota pesa kama majani.
This is money eating me.
All these we have extensively covered.
This is a test greenhouse. I put it up to see if we can produce organic tomato. I'm not lying, it's very sweet.
And different things that farmers are doing to make profit from produce.
Kuamua ukulima wa makadamia ilikuwa ni kama ndoto.
We are still growing.
Weka mbolea vizuri inakuwa kitu ya kukusaidia.
These are net cuts.
Other than the French beans you can see, we also have veggies.
Assume the reason why you're using hydroponics is because of the soil-borne problem.
Catch us every week on the Farm Journal here on Metropol TV. This is the Farm Journal.
This is your business brief for this hour. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage. Now, the speakers of the National Assembly and the Senate have postponed the special sittings that were to be held by both houses this week. Now, this is following the order by President Uhuru Kenyatta banning movement in and out of the Nairobi metropolitan area, Mombasa, Kwale and Kilifi counties, which have been classified as hotspot areas for the COVID-19. The Senate was scheduled to hold its special sittings today, while the National Assembly was scheduled to do so on Wednesday. Now, the postponement of the special sittings by the National Assembly could delay the debate and approval of President Kenyatta's expenditure and taxation proposals touching on the COVID-19 emergency. Low-cost air carrier Jambojet has temporarily suspended all its operations for the period until 30th April 2020. The suspension has been seen the airline cancel its flights with immediate effect. However, Jambojet, a wholly owned subsidiary of Kenya Airways, has told its passengers who had scheduled to travel within the month of April 2020 to consider rescheduling their travel plans to a later date at no extra cost. The airline's management says that the value of these tickets will remain valid for a period of 12 months from 7th April 2020. The government of Kenya yesterday, that is on the 6th of April, 2020, announced the cessation of all movement by road, rail or air in and out of Nairobi, Mombasa, Kilifi and Kwale counties for the next 21 days. The dollar found a footing on Wednesday as investors returned to safe havens, reversing some risk currency gains made on the hopes of the coronavirus crisis in Europe, and New York was slowing. The dollar, which for a month now has very closely tracked risk appetite as investors and businesses fearing the worst have rushed to the world's reserve currency, edged up on the pound, euro, yen and Swiss franc. According to Reuters, the dollar last stood at 0.2% higher at $1 and 871 units per the euro, and the same margin higher against the pound at $1.2315 units, though remained well short of recovering falls made on Tuesday. Now, the greenback rose 0.2% on both the yen and franc to 108 and 93 units yen, and a point of 97.14 of the francs. The United States of America has recorded the most COVID-19 deaths in a single day, with 1,736 fatalities reported on Tuesday. Now, this brings the total number of deaths in the country to 12,722, according to data from Johns Hopkins University. Now, the U.S. has more than 398,000 confirmed cases, the highest number in the world. Global cases have exceeded 1.4 million. However, during a press conference, President Donald Trump said the U.S. might be getting to the top of the curve. Meanwhile, the city of Wuhan in China, where the infection first emerged, ended its 11-week lockdown. Twitter co-founder and chief executive Jack Dorsey said Tuesday he was committing $1 billion of his personal fortune to COVID-19 relief through his philanthropic fund. According to AFP report, Dorsey said in a series of tweets that he would transfer his equity in his digital payments group Square to his limited liability corporation Start Small, contributing around 28% of his overall wealth. Why now? The needs are increasingly urgent, and I want to see the impact in my lifetime, Dorsey was quoted saying. And he continued, I hope this inspires others to do something similar. Life is too short, so let's do everything we can today to help people now. Now, the move could be the largest from a single individual for COVID-19 relief and comes with the pandemic spanning the globe and inflicting a heavy toll in lives and economic devastation on the United States. Dorsey said that after the pandemic ends, the fund would focus on health and education for girls and universal basic income efforts. Dorsey, who is the CEO of both Twitter and Square, has created a foundation as well as the start of Smaller LLC, a model similar to that established by Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg in his China Zuckerberg initiative to allow for flexibility in funding startups and efforts a foundation may be ineligible to fund. That is your brief.
Do you want to know what makes a business successful? Capital. It starts with working capital to fulfill your obligations for, let's say, 1 year. And when you're ready to expand and maybe you may not have the necessary resources, then you take on debt capital, which you can take from a bank or from somebody else if it's money. And when you grow and you want to expand your business even further, you could take on equity capital by listing your business on a private or public market, and then people invest in the shares. On the capital point, we rely on data and insights from business leaders from across the economic divide who are at the top of the capital ladder so that your capital investments are well informed. At this time on Metropol Television.
Hello and welcome to Eye on the Money, the show that gives you insights into how to improve your financial well-being as well as make your money work for you. I'm Ingrid Nantege. Now today, we discuss the season of coronavirus that we're in, and I'll give you tips and advice on how to make it through and somehow be okay when finally we make it through this season. Now, COVID-19, otherwise known as the coronavirus, has literally brought the world to its knees with its high rate of infections and fatalities. In order to contain the disease, countries have announced national lockdowns, which have raised fears over economic slowdown and unexpected slump in the private sector. In Kenya, there has already been a slowdown in economic activities, which is only expected to get worse as there's no clear end in sight for the pandemic. Joining me in studio to help us plan for the difficult COVID-19 times ahead is Amos Ngahu, financial coach at Money Clinic. You're welcome to the show, Amos.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for trusting me enough to actually show up in studio. These days, it takes about a village to convince one person why they need to be here. Thank you. Yeah. You know I don't have the disease, right?
I don't know.
It's just like blind trust.
Yes.
Okay.
So thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for always coming through.
Yes.
Now, coronavirus. These are unprecedented times.
Yes. Sure.
Nobody saw this coming.
Yes.
This has not happened in decades, or should I say centuries.
Yes.
So what that means is people don't even really know what to do, what to expect. Even the greatest superpowers, it's try and error right now.
True, yeah.
Let's bring it down to our local context. I'm not trying to insinuate that maybe you were here centuries ago and have been through a similar pandemic. I'm not trying to say you were here during the times of smallpox.
Yes.
However, during this time, especially when we're seeing countries carry out lockdowns, where especially during times where we've seen the president ask, organizations to let their staff work from home, especially at a time where we've seen organizations send out memos telling their staff, we're sorry, but until things get better, you may have to accept 30% of your initial salary. Things have been distorted.
Yes.
What should people expect to experience during these unprecedented times? I know we're going into it blindly,
yes.
But what of some of the things that are going to happen that we need to prepare for?
Well, it's quite an interesting time because it's really, this is the true definition of uncertainty. And one of the things, as you sit to put some thought to this, you're going to realize that there's so many things that can happen. We saw the government asking local companies to make face masks. And you can see that's a business opportunity for that particular sector. So we cannot really rule out and say everything will go bad. But I feel like we need to ask ourselves before we get to those fears, before we start analyzing what might go wrong and what might go right, is to ask ourselves, what are the things that are within our control? Because at the end of the day, a vaccine could come out today, then what?
And then it's all over.
It's all over.
It's
And
back
now,
to
and
normal.
now, you know, Kenyans were very good at making jokes, you know, and soon I can't wait to create my own jokes. But the thing is, we need to understand what is within our control and what can help us survive during these times that you are not sure how long it's going to take.
Right.
One of the things that I've come to understand is redirecting our fears. If today I am worried about my finances, because I know especially beginning of the year, business was not really good. So I'm really feeling it for business people. You realize now I'm torn between, do I negotiate with my landlord
Right.
on my payment? Do I stop paying first of all rent because I don't know if tomorrow I'll have food for my family? So it's very important for us to know that yes, I have this thing that is within my control, but now how can I redirect these fears? One of the things that you can do is, yes, you can worry about tomorrow, but also ask yourself, if this thing is over now,
Right.
what are some of the things that I have learned that I can change either in my business or in the way I handle money, so that in future, if such a thing was to happen, because we are not sure, then I can be well cushioned. Because at the end of the day, whether you worry or not, this thing, it will go at its own time. So you're not adding anything extra. So I feel like it's a question we need to ask ourselves. What are the things that are within your control? If you're at a place whereby you can be able to, you can see your boss is really struggling. And I really feel it for employers, because now they are worried twice.
Right.
For the employees.
And for themselves.
And for themselves. Because they're wondering, do we continue paying these people?
Right.
Do we lay them off? Do we reduce their pay? You understand? Yet they have families. Same thing with even the campaigns running against landlords. Now you're forgetting that the caretaker is paid by the landlord.
Yeah.
You understand?
True.
So what if the landlord is having a loan? Yes, the banks have facilitated something, but what if he uses that as his main income?
Yeah.
So we have to be really considerate and ask ourselves, what is within our control? If you don't have money to pay rent, have that discussion with your landlord. Tell them this is what I can afford for now. Because at the end of the day, there are so many things that could go wrong. And at the same time, there's so many things that could go right. So ask yourself which is within your control.
Right.
Yes.
I love how you've broken it down.
Yes.
But now, Amos, what if I'm in this category where, I mean, fine, the pandemic has affected everyone.
Yes.
I've been affected, I'm working from home.
Yes.
But my income is still coming through.
Yes.
You know, I can still pay my rent for a while.
Yes.
You know, I've not been fully affected on the financial front. Would you say I keep living as I've been living, or do I also still need to make adjustments here and there in terms of financial management? What I'm trying to say is, what sort of behavioral changes do people need to make during this time? Whether you fall in that bracket where you've lost a bit of your income, or your income is constantly still going to come through, but again, we don't know how long this is going to go on for. It could end today,
Yes.
it could end next year.
Well, I remember back then there was a campaign against HIV where they used to say, if you're not infected, you're affected.
Yes.
And this is a pipeline of cash flow. Now, it is going to choke at a specific place, but a different place from every individual. So guys in business right now, and especially in, let's say in business of, for instance, what I do in training, so you cannot have groups. Right. So you realize the choking is already about to happen. Yeah. But then you'll find there's someone who's been employed, let's say like in media or as a nurse, which are essential services. And for them, they might feel it a bit later. So I feel based on the stage you are at, it is a very important, like now you're saying there's still cash flow, you can still be able to plan a little bit here and there. I feel like it's a high time you did an evaluation for yourself, a personal evaluation. The first thing we are doing when we did, the first case was reported in Kenya of COVID-19, everybody went into panic, and it was just one case. Yeah. But now, we didn't have the exact figures of how many guys have been infected. And that's why you find every press briefing of the government, they're starting by saying we have tested so far this number of people for the last 24 hours, and these are the results. Yes. You see, unless you do a personal test or personal evaluation, you'll never understand if you're doing well financially or you're doing badly. Yes. So I feel like it's time that you sat down and ask yourself, I've been earning this kind of money.
Yes.
I am where I am right now. How do I even know where I am? I mean, very few of us have even ever conducted a personal balance sheet whereby you take all your assets and all your liabilities. Basically, what you own, a piece of land here, savings here and there, and then you take all your loans, get the total, and then deduct the loans from the from the assets. I mean, run simple exercises. This is a time that you evaluate and ask yourself, how much do my children know about money? Because, you know, as early as 3, you can start having a discussion about money.
Right.
Because from 3 to 5...
Actually, apparently you're supposed to start early enough.
Exactly. From 3 to 5, I mean, teach your kids something. If for instance, the issue of waiting, you know, the issue of saying, you know what, a toy can cost this much, can we save up? Okay?
Right.
Can you give them small commissions or small allowances? You understand?
Right.
Can you give them jars, like small jars, and tell them this one is for giving, this one is for spending, and this one is for saving? You understand? And let them fill up. You understand? Any money that they collect when you're doing cleaning, you know, when you're doing cleaning, when you're lifting those pillows somewhere, you'll always find a coin somewhere. Let them earn it. I mean, evaluating how much they know, because we have a lot of time right now. This is a time you can start that discussion with your significant other about finances, you know. So I feel like there's so much you can do, but most importantly, if you still have that cash flow, start evaluating, start even checking those emergency funds that you had. You know, this is a time to test them and see if today I'm out of a job, can I survive for the next 6 months? Or if you don't have, probably this is the time you need to set up. And still, if the cash flow is there, reduce on the budget, reduce on the expenses. For instance, if right now guys are sleeping late and waking up late, why don't you have brunch?
Right.
You have brunch at 11.
Just have something very heavy, so
yes.
you don't have to worry about.
You skip lunch, and then you can take dinner early, or you can cook one main meal at that particular time at 11, which will be eaten at dinner.
Makes sense.
So that you reduce on the fuel you're spending, let's say on gas or electricity, and then you can be able to reduce expenses for the domestic.
Now, Amos,
yes.
Even as you bring out a very vital aspect of this is a very good time to check your financial management, to balance your books, to have honest conversations with your family, with yourself, with your children. This is the right time to pretty much get your money in order, set up that emergency fund, just figure out your finances.
Yes.
You also mentioned something that really caught my attention at the top of the conversation, where you said it's not all doom and gloom. As a matter of fact, some opportunities have come out of this. There's people who are doing nothing, and then all of a sudden now you can manufacture masks. There's health workers out there who are out of jobs. Now the government is looking for them. So my question is, how is it possible to remain productive and also still have some income coming in? How can you achieve that during this time? Where do the opportunities lie, and how can you tap into those?
Well, the other day I saw a meme that meeting could have been an email.
Right.
And sometimes...
During this time I found out how many meetings could have been emailed.
Quite unnecessary.
Right.
I have a friend of mine, she's approaching 60. And she's been having those old phones. And for the longest time I've been telling her, buy a smartphone for convenience.
Right.
The other day she calls me, she tells me, she has learned how to use Zoom on phone, because now she has to get in touch with her staff, and she realized that she actually doesn't need all that manpower. You know, and for me, I feel like embracing technology right now will save us a lot of money, and I feel that's the avenue that we need to take up. So if today you look at the usage, since guys are working from home, the usage of internet on business transactions, on meetings, on trainings that are happening there, I feel it's a new avenue that we need to take that will cost businesses much less than having many employees. However, on the flip, some people might lose their jobs because their jobs might just become redundant. But I also feel, in terms of e-commerce, where now there will be a lot of sales online.
Yeah.
I don't feel like, I don't think that we are going to go back. I feel like if you...
It's now a trend.
Yes, it's a trend.
This is where we're heading.
Exactly. And soon, and I feel like that's your biggest threat as mainstream media.
Right.
That social media right now, first of all, is cheaper to advertise. And guys, actually, anybody can open an account and promote themselves. Yeah. And I feel like if you are in business and you're selling merchandise and you're doing a lot of service, just use online. I feel it's a big opportunity for you to set yourselves up and really invest in it. So that's it. And of course, now in the medical sector, we've realized that we've been importing everything. And now our local companies now are taking up, you know, right. and I have a feeling we should, well, the moment this thing is over, we should recover and now start promoting Kenya by Kenyan.
So even our own home industries are actually benefiting from this right now.
Yeah, yes.
They're getting the money they need to
yes.
grow themselves, to produce what needs to be produced.
Yes. And I don't think we should go out any longer. I mean, after this, we should promote. I mean, we should be the first guys to get to Mombasa hotels and all over and promote our own tourism. Because I feel from here, it's a trend that is showing us that we have this, we can be able to go through this and we can improve our economy. Because remember, the president yesterday directed that the agricultural activities should continue, yes. so that the supply is yes. on. Yes. And you see, that's a very unique opportunity that is not in the modern countries. Yes. You understand? Yes. Most of them import their food. Here we are saying, from Kiambu, continue bringing your grains, continue bringing your... So I feel like it's a unique opportunity that most countries don't have. And if we tap into it, I believe, and Kenyans, we are known for recovering fast. Yeah. So I feel like we can do this.
So we're going to take a very quick break, but don't go anywhere because we'll be back with so much more right here on I Am the Money. However, remember, you can be a part of the conversation by sending in your feedback on our social media pages at Metropol TVK on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We'll be right back.
It's agriculture that is the key driver of the Kenyan economy.
Anakuletea na kuzia bei ya chini na wewe inabidi pia uzie customer na bei ile ya chini.
For fresh beans, I can say it actually brings a good income.
Kama ni gunia moja iko na 200 pieces, so hiyo shilingi 5 times 200.
Actually, rainwater is the best for crops.
Whether rain-fed or using rivers to irrigate.
Tunapanga kuweka drip line kwa shamba.
He had thought that we could pump the water with solar.
Different farmers have shared their stories on how they're turning produce to profit.
Akipata kama miti 300 hivi, atakuwa akiokota pesa kama majani.
This is money hitting me.
All this we have extensively covered.
This is a test greenhouse. I put it up to see if we can produce organic tomato. I'm not lying, it's very sweet.
And different things that farmers are doing to make profit from produce.
Kuamua ukulima wa makadamia ilikuwa ni kama ndoto.
We are still growing.
Weka mbolea vizuri inakuwa kitu ya kukusaidia.
These are net caps.
Other than the French beans you can see, we also have veggies.
Assume the reason why you're using hydroponics is because of the soil-borne problem.
Catch us every week on the Farm Journal here on Metropol TV. This is the Farm Journal.
Markets Today is a place you need to be every single day on Metropol TV. We give you access to insights with regards to the financial market. What is happening? Where are people making money? Where are people losing money? And where do you need to place your money? We speak to the decision makers in this industry, the chief executive officers, the chief finance officers, permanent secretaries, people in the cabinet.
Money is starting to circulate.
Central banks globally are trying to offset that.
Consumer spending patterns.
Now let's look at the numbers.
We've not raised a single shilling of new equity capital.
To understand where is your money going to actually grow in the near term.
The market in which financial securities are exchanged, right, traded.
On Metropol TV, and I am your host, Bife Mwema, and see you then.
My name is Nina Shaban.
My name is Fred Makori.
My name is Simba, Elijah Charles. Tuesdays are for public governance. Well, you have a point. You do have a point. But at the end of the day, you can't let an industry know.
Wednesdays, talk night. This time I just said, we're not working. And Thursdays, company business.
Our revenues have dwindled by close to 25%.
The question is how, considering this was a company that was on its way to liquidation.
I'll be taking you through Friday Business, the software. Who is bigger? Is it the owner of the taxi, the driver, or the taxi firm? Turns out that it's the driver according to NTSA.
18 good hours a day was steering.
Welcome back to Eye on the Money, and today on the show we're discussing how you can financially weather these difficult COVID-19 times. Not just financially, how to physically weather them, mentally weather them, and also come out of it with your finances in check. With me in studio to help us discuss all this is none other than Amos Ngahu, who's a financial coach at Money Clinic. Now, Amos, before we went on break, you did an amazing job explaining to us what to expect, how to prepare for it, you know, what sort of conversations we need to be having with ourselves right now in terms of our money. And it really helped us understand that it's not the end of the world. There's actually ways around this. However, to deviate slightly and not make it fully about your finances, because in this period, people are going through it, not just for finances. In fact, we were having this conversation before and just said the hardest hit people are the sanguines. There's people out there, Amos, who on a regular basis are just used to getting up, getting dressed, showing up to work, and the actual thought of shifting your mindset from now you don't have to do that. You actually have to like wake up. You can wake up in your shorts, sit down and get to work. It's really difficult to switch from that. And because of that, productivity has been affected. We're seeing people who, before when things were normal, were so productive. You could see results. Right now, people are really, really struggling. And not just with work productivity, with mental health, the blockage. What would you say, like what do people need to think about during this time in terms of mental health, in terms of mindset, in terms of getting tasks done, even with this confinement, even with the shift in the way everything is being done right now?
Well, beginning of this century,
yeah?
Yes, beginning of this century. We're talking about 20 years ago. The challenge really then was access to information.
Right.
You know, by the time you had an email, I mean, it was a big deal. And you'd go to a cyber and pay a lot of money. So the challenge then was there. Today, anything I want, I can access through my phone. So the information is not a problem anymore. The challenge of today, and it's one of the biggest challenges that people are facing, is the ability to unlearn and relearn. You understand? And learn what you have always known. If you are unable to do that, what happens is it can lead you to live a life that is not real. You're living still at a life. Let me give you an example. We conducted a training somewhere, and someone was telling us that this particular person worked in one of the disciplined forces, and they rose to a certain rank. And back then, they had a huge house here in Nairobi, and they had a landline. And back home, the guy had constructed a house, and he was the only one in the village who had a landline. So every day he used to get 2 newspapers. Then it was Taifa Leo and the Times, Kenya Times. Every day. Now, when he retired, the same day, they put a truck and everything was sent to Shags. Remember, he's gotten a pension. You know, the government pension then was not much. So the guy starts there and he continues the same lifestyle. 2 newspapers, per day. And he would drive to the shopping center and come back.
This is what he was used to.
Yes. And he had a driver. But then he realized the driver needs to go. So he was driving his own, it was these 504s, the old ones. Yes, and he would go there and it was a guzzler. Then he realized he can't sustain the car. And he's still ordering his 2 newspapers. And he still has his landline. He continued the same lifestyle, assuming. Do you know the guy died of depression? And he could no longer even ride his bicycle because he never learned and understood that yes. And for us, this is a time that we need to actually say, you know what, I have to unlearn what I've been doing. These are different times. For the sake of my health and the health of others, I need to observe social distancing. So what are some of the things that you can be able to do? Personally, I'm affected. I'm a sanguine. I told you I just discovered there's something called sunset on my balcony. But you've had to change because those were the times I used to work out. So in the morning, I've formed the habit of doing a run. Now this run gives you, I mean, I never used to, yes, I never used to understand what Eliud used to say, Kipchoge, and we should make this a running nation, but it opens your mind, you're able to think, and you run faster. Now that's why I understood why he used to say that sometimes he can get a very painful, let's say a sprain or something, but he puts the pain at the back of his head.
Right.
You understand? And this is the time that we need to learn that. What is necessary, we think about it now. We live a day at a time. If you can actually wake up today and say, I'm going to start with a run, I'm going to do a certain number of push-ups, I'm going to read my word, I'm going to spend time with my children, just a simple one.
Productivity,
yes. But a day at a time.
Yeah.
Even if you're at a place whereby you've been told no leaving and you're not working for the next 21 days, it takes 21 days to form a habit.
Yeah,
so I believe it's a time that you need to unlearn what you've been doing and try something new. And be nice to yourself, you know. If you have never ran and you've ran 2 kilometers, I mean, celebrate, you know. Learn to take in small victories because that way it will encourage you to do further. The first time I did 3 kilometers, yes. Now I'm able to do 11.
Oh, wow.
You know, and it starts with you encouraging yourself and having that time because it brings a lot of creativity. Yes. So we have to unlearn.
Finally, you've really given so many, let me just talk about myself. You've given me so much hope. I was really dealing with so much anxiety. I had so many questions. I really was very stressed.
Yes.
And I was hardest hit, I would like to think, because all this is happening and I'm so far away from home. I'm so glad I hosted you today. Now, before you leave, I have to ask you, like you said, there's going to come a point in time when this is all going to be over. There's going to come a point in time, it could even be today, when finally China, US, Spain, Italy, somebody, even Kenya, says finally here's the vaccine. And the world order is going to be restored. For those people who during this time are going to take a hit, because there are going to be people who are going to take a hit. And I'm talking about a hard hit, a hit where you pretty much may have to like pick up the scraps and rebuild. So that morning when we finally are allowed to get out of our houses, you're allowed to go back to your work premises, you're allowed to start over, you don't know what to do, what advice would you give for when that day comes? What should happen?
Well, the other day we were having a discussion, and especially this generation of parents. And if you have a young, especially the first children, the firstborns, we are really spoiling them. They fall down, you're quick to lift them up. And we were discussing that we have not been teaching, or parents, our days we were taught, we've not been taught how to take a loss. You always helped to come up, if for instance your parents realize you're not doing well, they throw money your way if they have, even the little that they have. I feel like it's a huge lesson that we need to teach the young generation. That if you can take the wins, you can take the losses. And the moment you learn to accept where you are and say, as Ingrid, yes, we've been hit hard. We found ourselves now in more debt. You understand? Because at that particular time, we were depleted, we depleted our savings, and now we are surviving on loans. It is important, first of all, to understand that we are hit. How did it hit us? Can we recover from here? Because remember, at the end of the day, it's for you to be content with your money, whether in plenty or in lack. Because remember, it's actually Socrates who says that contentment is the wealth of nature. If you can be able to be content and don't go all the way, because let me tell you something, if today your children see that you're actually splitting, let's say you have the last 200 bob, and they're of age, if they're above 8, they can understand. You tell them, this is what we have. Can we buy unga and buy greens from the local garden, the other person who has a kitchen garden? Let them see you make those decisions.
Yeah.
Because you don't know who you're raising.
That's true.
Tomorrow they might go through the same challenge. But if you don't share them and you don't show them that you can take a beating and you can take a loss, to recover for them will be very difficult. They'll live in denial. But if you can expose yourself and see this is where we are, then let's move on. And I'll encourage people, especially business people, if you're in a business that right now it's on a lockdown, per se, if you can use the word lockdown, it's time that you started reevaluating your business strategy.
It really should be versatile, yeah?
Yeah, because I remember there was a time I was so broke, I didn't have money. Nothing was going through. I had to sit down and ask myself, what are the things that I do naturally that don't require capital, that can be able to give me even 500 bob? And trust you me, Dr. Miles Monroe, the late, God bless his soul, that guy is one of the guys that said something that I realized that I've just been operating in mediocrity. Because he said between 500 and 700 abilities that a human being has, all with the ability to give them money. But people die without even utilizing 10%. So can you try and see what are some of the things you can do naturally that can be able to give even 500 bob? Trust you me, I came up with 9. And within a very short time of about 3 months, I was out of debt because I was able to service the same. So this is a time to think. You must be able to think at this particular time. Even when you're spend time, like we're doing the run like we're talking about, take time and think about it. Because this will be over.
Yeah,
yes,
it will.
Yes, and we will not be successful. Most people who've been successful, they will not tell you, I inherited and here I am.
Yeah.
They don't have a beautiful story.
Yeah.
But when I tell you I have lost everything twice in my life.
And rebuilt from the ground up.
It's a beautiful story.
It's motivation, it's an inspirational story.
And that's why when someone tells you mean, show me your achievements, okay, I'm impressed. But show me your wounds, and I'm inspired.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Amos. We've come to the end of the show, and because, I mean, like I said, I had major anxiety, and I've been struggling with this whole coronavirus thing. I didn't prepare a financial tip, because what do I know about keeping your money during this coronavirus times? So Amos, do you mind, before you leave, do you mind giving my guests just 2 lines, one real quick tip on what they need to think about during this coronavirus times? Take home.
Well, I can say that just like this COVID-19 is really scaring people, and purely because it's uncertain. We were not prepared for it. We didn't know anything about it. But I have a feeling that the more we know about it, the more we are armed. We didn't know it was airborne. Now we know it's airborne. We can do masks. This is a time when we relate it to finances. The more you know, the more you educate yourself about finances and how what works, the more you'll be equipped to make better decisions. Because even if you came to Amos is just a coach to help you become better, but everything comes from you. So take time, look at your business, reevaluate your strategies, and eventually you don't panic, because either way, nobody comes out of this life alive.
True. The only 2 certainties in life.
Taxes.
And death.
Yes.
Thank you very much, as usual, for joining us on the show, Amos. That's where we wrap it up today. However, you can keep the conversation going on our social media pages at Metropol TV KE on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Have a beautiful day.
welcome to another episode of Street Bishar. I'm your one and only host, Brenda Nyamichaba. Now, the Standard Chartered Bank auctioned 9 prime presidential hotel apartments in Pagoni Beach Resort, Shanzu, Mombasa, over unpaid loans. Now, the apartments are being sold for a reserve price of about 84.6 million Kenyan shillings combined, which shows the stress that different quarters of the economy went through in the year 2019. Now, this trend has been observed in many areas in the year 2019, denoting a stressed business environment throughout the year. Now, the question we're looking at today is whether you understand what auctioning is. Well, as you can see, I'm on the streets of Nairobi about to find out what exactly Kenyans have in store for me today.
Auctioning is whereby they take a stuff and maybe sell it to the highest bidder, or maybe if you haven't paid stuff or you are selling your items online, you sell it to the highest bidder or something like that.
I guess it's a term whereby it is used during business when you want to give away something in business, now you auction it for people to see.
It's a mode of selling, yes. There is what we call creditors, and then we got the debtor. So when the debtor can't pay his own debts, then actually we take the product from him that was given as a security.
Auctioning ni kuuza mali ya wenyewe. Ni jina ya kizungu ya kusema selling. Yeah.
A situation where somebody, like a case study, somebody cannot pay his debt, so you auction his property. You collect his property, his assets, and then you sell it.
I think it's a sort of a market, I think, where people bid for items.
Mtu anaweza kuwa na deni ya mtu, akasirike hataki kulipa, akuje aseme atumie ile process inatakiwa. Ukute hata nyumba yako yote, hata vitanda, nguo za watoto, kila kitu imeuzwa. Auction.
Auctioning inamaanisha ni kunandi vitu au kuuza vitu kwa mnanda.
Auctioning is when you are unable to pay your debts and the creditors take your property to sell to recover their money.
Now, the term auctioning is something we come across quite a lot, and someone would assume they know the meaning. Now, after getting a chance to go on the streets and see what exactly you understand by the term auctioning, I got some very interesting answers from you. Now, we're back in studio and we're going to break it down for you what exactly auctioning is. And the individual joining me today is an economic expert, Samson Ndia, is joining me today on his Street Bishar, and he's going to break it down for us so we can get to understand what is auctioning. Thank you so much for joining me on Street Bishar.
Thank you.
Now, Samson, let's just jump right into, you're breaking it down for us. What exactly is auctioning?
Yeah, auctioning is a very big term in terms of people in the streets, people in business don't even understand. So in simple terms, auction is a process of buying and selling in terms of goods and also even services, then placing them in a bid, then later in terms of taking the bid and selling the bid to the highest bidder. So that is simply what is auctioning.
Great. Now, can auctions be used as a parameter for the performance of the economy?
I would say it's a two-way answer because it's 50-50 depends. One, because at one scenario, when I say yes, you can be able, maybe the market is doing on very well. Companies can be able maybe to do in terms of auctioning, in terms of goods and services, and they sell to the highest bidder. So there, in terms of company, they're making money. At the same time, in terms of yearly turnover of a company is very high, and that translates to the economy in terms of positive sides. At the same time, sometimes no, when businesses are doing very bad, auction, somebody can be able to auction your business in terms of what you have. You are not in capability to pay maybe rent, so people might bump in the owner of the building or anybody who owes you, and they be able to auction your goods. So at that time, your business is doing bad and maybe might close the business. So it's a two-way traffic in terms of depending on what side of the coin it is.
Great, thank you for that wonderful explanation, very clear. Now there you have it, that's actually the complete definition of what auctioning is. So I do hope you got to understand what exactly that term
comments, because when I do come back on the streets of Nairobi to ask you what auctioning is, I do hope you'll get the right answer this time around. Now that brings us to the end of this episode of Street Biashara. Do join me on the next one.
I dare you to work on yourself for 6 months. I dare you to shut out the world. I dare you to shut out all the distractions. I dare you to give up everything that is keeping you from your dream.
If you have a dream, don't just sit there. Get your ass up and make something happen. Sometimes you just have to move. Do something. Make a call. Reach out to someone. Google something. Learn something new. Write down what you need to do in order to make a better life for yourself. And be brave enough to do those things.
I dare you to take a stand today to say no more. I will no longer accept this for my life. I dare you to take action today. I dare you to write your goals down and get someone to hold you accountable. I dare you to hold yourself accountable. I dare you to give up everything that is keeping you from your dream, to say no to all the negative influences. I dare you to pick up a book instead of a drink. I dare you to work harder than you think you did yesterday. I dare you to prove them wrong. I dare you to prove yourself right. I dare you to stand up as a man or as a strong woman, as whoever you are, and declare that you are going to claim a bigger and better life for yourself. I dare you to make something happen this week, to take massive action this week. Drop everything and do something. I dare you to walk more than you talk. I dare you to do good for the sake of doing good. I dare you to tell no one about it, to be kind for no reason. I dare you to spend time alone. I dare you to say no with pride. No to bad habits, to negative people, to wrongdoing. I dare you to speak your truth. I dare you to dream bigger, bigger than they told you was possible for your life. I dare you. I dare you to walk your own path, wherever that leads, whatever they say. I dare you to lock the world out for a week and work on you, work on your dreams. You're well and truly capable of living at a higher level. If you do or you don't, that's up to you. Ask yourself, am I happy with my life exactly as it is now? Am I happy staying where I am? If you don't like to answer, get to work. Work on yourself. Work harder than you think you've worked in the past. More discipline, higher standards, more self-respect, more boundaries, less BS. More forward, less backward. More positive, less negative. Only those who dare to go after the life most don't have will ever have the chance of living a life most will never have. Only those who dare to fight for a great life have a chance to live a great life. What's it going to take for you to change? What's it going to take for you to realize your potential? What's it going to take for you to be proud? Proud of the person you are. Proud of your effort. Proud of the person you've become. What is it going to take?
When you hear the word business, what comes to mind? Skyscrapers, fast-moving economy, technology and innovation, dollar versus the shilling exchange rate, financial markets, or better still, the US versus China trade war? Is there a magic bullet that can spark Kenya into economic growth? How about this? How is Africa the next economic frontier? What does that even mean? Questions that keep popping up. Is foreign aid helping Africa develop, or rather is it stagnating it? Does good politics translate into economic development? Well, on Metropol Debrief, we break down business, telling you why it matters and showing you how and when it affects your bottom line. This and much more on the new season of Metropol Debrief at 8 p.m, where we're bold and balanced.
Organic farming is an integrated method of farming that strives for sustainable production in agriculture. Organic farming avoids the use of synthetic fertilizers, pesticides, antibiotics, genetic modification, and growth hormones. This concept was developed in the early 1900s by farmers who believed that the use of animal manure, cover crops, crop rotation, and biological-based pest control resulted to better farming system. In Kenya, organic farming started in the 1990s, and Kenya has been producing an estimated 5 million tons of organic food for the local and export markets. Of the total agricultural land in Kenya, only an estimated 1,469 hectares is under organic farming. Broken down in estimated acreage, coffee takes 240 hectares, vegetables take 598 hectares, cereals take 1 hectare. Other crops like fruits and animal rearing take up the rest of the acreage. Organic farming is characterized by the following: protection of long-term fertility of the soils, maximum mechanical operation on soils, providing crop nutrients by action of soil microorganisms, ensuring nitrogen soil self-sufficiency by growing legumes, holistic management of livestock by addressing their natural adaptations, behavioral needs, and animal welfare. Weed and pests are controlled through crop rotation, diversity, natural predators, and resilient crop. Yields from organic farming is 25% lower than that of conventional farming, but this is counterbalanced by the price organic food fetches in the market. Most of the organic farming in Kenya takes place in the central region. Other areas with potential include the coastal, eastern, western, Nyanza, and parts of Rift Valley regions.
Je, ukiwa na shilingi 5,000 waweza fanya nazo nini? From street to street and from estate to estate. Tumekuwa tukiangazia biashara kadha wa kadha ambazo tumeweza kupata mawaidha hapa pale, jinsi ya kuwekeza na hata pia kuikuza biashara. Aha, ishakuwa. Haya basi, wewe ungana nami Tabitha Muthoni ndani ya show ya Mwananchi. Show ni The Hustle.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
The entertainment industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. But the question is, how can you get a share of the pie? On E-Magazine, we follow the money behind the glam and break it down for you, making sure you get a share of the pie. Catch E-Magazine at this time only on Metropol television.
The World Bank ranking of ease of doing business, you all know that Kenya has moved quite a number of steps, and I think now we are 61 out of 180, and we are continuously making sure. Now we are 56, awesome. So each and every other day, we are improving, and that one tells you that Kenya is a destination. And Parliament is currently considering legislative amendments to various acts of Parliament that form the hallmark of revamping the manufacturing sector. These include amendment to the Business Registration Service Act, which actually is with us at the moment, the Companies Act, the Insolvency Act, and the Special Economic Zones Act. The ease of doing business is critical, of course, for sustainable growth in the manufacturing sector. So at the moment, we are doing public participation, and we are fast-tracking. In fact, we are working together with other committees, the Committee on Finance, Land, combined. It's like an omnibus kind of a bill, and we are actually fast-tracking it to make sure that in the next 1 month, that law will be signed, and of course, it will have a ripple effect. The National Assembly will, while reviewing legislative policy and regulatory framework, is cognizant of the need to facilitate a wide range of direct and joint investment opportunities in the agro-processing garment, the assembly of automotive components and electronics, plastics, papers, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, metal, and engineering products for domestic and export market. There is need, definitely, to develop a local manufacturing industry destined to drive growth and creation of jobs. This can be realized through government intention to reverse the manufacturing sector decline growth, a share of growth through policy framework that promote an efficient business environment for industries to thrive in. This policy statement, ladies and gentlemen, will invogate the achievement of the Big Four agenda under the manufacturing semantics area. With streamlined policy environment and participatory approach, including the private sector engagement, local manufacturing contribution will grow as we are projecting from the current 6.6 to a high of about 15% to the GDP.
Wamama wengi hapa wana furaha zaidi kwa sababu ya manufaa ya mafundisho ambayo tumepata leo.
Hii inaitwa chlorhexidine gel ama solution. Hii ni dawa moja. Na hii dawa ni ya kitovu.
Na zaidi ya yote, zawadi ambayo tumetunukiwa na Lotto Foundation.
Tunashukuru na hizi boxes kwa sababu iko na vitu mingi itasaidia akina mama.
Ndani yake iko na blanketi ambayo ina joto. Tuna napi, kuna hii leso pia, ina neti pia, inazuia umbu.
Tungependa kushukuru sana Lotto na tunawakaribisha tena county yetu ya Elgeyo Marakwet.
Kapsabet County Referral Hospital.
Tuendelee kupatana pamoja, tuhakikishe watu wote wanapata ile afya mzuri na pia wanaweza kubenefit.
Together, we are changing lives. Thanks a million.
All right, this is your business brief. You're watching Metropol Television. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage. The 3-week ban on movement in Mombasa, Kwale and Kilifi by President Uhuru Kenyatta takes effect today at 7 p.m. President Uhuru Kenyatta on Monday imposed a 21-day ban on movement in and out of 4 main coronavirus-infected areas, including capital Nairobi City, in order to contain the further spread of the COVID-19 virus. Now, the president's order bars entry and exits in 4 regions of the country most affected by cases of COVID-19. In addition to Nairobi, they include the port city of Mombasa and the counties of Kilifi and Kwale. Now, the speakers of the National Assembly and the Senate have postponed the special sittings that were to be held by both houses this week. Now, this is following the order by President Uhuru Kenyatta banning movement in and out of Nairobi metropolitan area, Mombasa, Kwale and Kilifi counties, which have been classified as hotspot areas for the coronavirus. Now, the Senate was scheduled to hold its special sitting while the National Assembly was scheduled to do so today. Now, the postponement of the special sittings by the National Assembly could delay the debate and approval of the President Kenyatta's expenditure and taxation proposals touching on the COVID-19 emergency. Low-cost air carrier Jambo Jet has temporarily suspended all operations for the period until 30th April 2020. The suspension has seen the airline cancel all its flights with immediate effect. However, Jambo Jet, a wholly owned subsidiary of Kenya Airways, has told its passengers who had scheduled to travel within the month of April and 2020 to consider rescheduling their travel plans to a later date at no extra cost. The airline's management says the value of these tickets will remain valid for a period of 12 months from the 7th of April 2020. The government of Kenya yesterday, on 6th April 2020, announced the cessation of all movement by road, rail or air and in and out of Nairobi, Mombasa, Kilifi and Kwale counties for the next 21 days. The dollar found a footing on Wednesday as investors returned to safe havens, reversing some risk currency gains made on hopes the coronavirus crisis in Europe and New York was slowing. The dollar, which for a month now has very closely tracked risk appetite as investors and businesses fearing the worst have rushed to the world's reserve currency, edged up on the pound, euro, yen and Swiss franc. According to Reuters, the dollar last stood at 0.2% higher at $1. 0.0871 units per the euro, and the same margin higher against the pound that stood at $1.2315 units through remained well short of recovering falls made on Tuesday. Now, the greenback was 0.2% on both the yen and franc to 108 and 93 cent yen, and a 0.9714 of the francs. The United States of America has recorded the most coronavirus deaths in a single day, with 1,736 fatalities reported on Tuesday. Now, this brings the total number of deaths in the country to 12,722, according to data from Johns Hopkins University. Now, the U.S. has more than 398,000 confirmed cases, the highest number in the world. Now, global cases have exceeded 1.4 million. However, during a press conference, President Donald Trump said the U.S. might be getting to the top of the curve. Meanwhile, the city of Wuhan in China, where the infection first emerged, ended its 11-week lockdown. Twitter co-founder and chief executive Jack Dorsey said Tuesday he was committing $1 billion of his personal fortune to coronavirus relief through his philanthropic fund. Now, according to AFP report, Dorsey said in a series of tweets that he would transfer his equity in his digital payments group Square to his limited liability corporation, Start Small, contributing around 28% of his overall wealth. Why now? The needs are increasingly urgent, and I want to see the impact in my lifetime. Dosey was quoted. I hope this inspires others to do something similar. Life is too short, so let's do everything we can today to help people now. The move could be the largest form a single individual for coronavirus relief and comes with the pandemic spanning the globe and inflicting a heavy toll in lives and economic devastation on the United States. Dosey said that after the pandemic ends, the fund would focus on health and education for girls and universal basic income efforts. Dosey, who is the CEO of both Twitter and Square, has created a foundation as well as the start of a small LLC, a model similar to that established by Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg in his China Zuckerberg initiative to allow for flexibility in funding startups and efforts. A foundation may be ineligible to fund. Right, that's your business brief for this hour.
entertainment industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. But the question is, how can you get a share of the pie? On E-Magazine, we follow the money behind the glam and break it down for you, making sure you get a share of the pie. Catch E-Magazine at this time only on Metropol television.
My name is Nina Shaban.
My name is Fred Makori.
My name is Simba, Elijah Shalsky. Tuesdays are for public governance. Well, you have a point. You do have a point. But at the end of the day, you can't let an industry now.
Wednesdays, talk night. That's what I just said. We're not working. And Thursdays, company business.
Our revenues have dwindled by close to 25%.
The question is how, considering this was a company that was on its way to liquidation.
I'll be taking you through Friday Business, the software. Who is bigger? Is it the owner of the taxi, the driver, or the taxi firm? Turns out that it's the driver according to NTSA.
18 good hours a day was steering.
You have to stand for something. You have to stand for something more than money. You have to be worth more than money. You have to be more than your achievements. You have to stand taller than what has happened to you. Where you came from, all of that. Sure, strive for achievement. Sure, make the money. There's nothing wrong with that. But never let that be your driving force. Have a standard which you live by. A standard that cannot be broken. Morals and integrity that no one can penetrate. With any amount of money. With any reasoning. It makes me sick to see the lack of integrity in some people. I'd rather die than accept money to do anything I don't believe in. I'd rather die than to do anything that is against my code of living. I'd rather walk alone, doing what is right, than follow the majority, who are following the majority, who are also following the majority, all doing whatever they've been told. You have a mind of your own. Use it. I have standards, and no one will break those standards. I do not value money over these standards. I do not take the easy option over these standards. I live by these standards. I live by these morals and ethics, no matter what. If that means less money in the short term by turning down things that don't align with my values, so be it. I can tell you, it will absolutely lead to a better life. In the long term, it will lead to pride and self-respect, knowing you are someone of their word. If it means life is hard in the short term because you refuse to do certain things or refuse to deal with certain people, so be it. I can tell you, it will absolutely lead to an easier life in the long term. A life with less drama, more peace, and absolutely more pride in yourself. If that means not listening to family, friends, respected figures because you know whatever is being said is wrong, be brave enough to stand for what you believe in, whatever it is. My soul is clear. I sleep like a baby because I know I don't break away from my morals and ethical guidelines. If you're not there yet, I beg you to do this for yourself. Set standards for your life that are based on what you believe is right and just. Not just what is right and just for you, but what is right and just for everyone, all living beings. Set morals and ethics that you will allow no one to break. No opinion can get inside this unbreakable wall. That is your code of conduct. Not everyone is going to be on board with this. Most people are weak in the mind. Most people choose the easy option over the ethical option. Most people choose the money over self-respect. Set the example for these people, not aggressively, not even verbally. Set the example in your actions and your results. Set the example by you setting moral standards that are unbreakable, and because of that, living a life beyond all comprehension. Not just a life full of pride, but a life full of achievements, abundance, and purpose. No matter how you conduct yourself in life, you are setting an example for those around you to follow. What example do you want to set? Do you want to stand for something more than money and achievements? What do you care about? Who are you? And what do you stand for? What do you know is right? Live by that.
In the heart of central region of Kenya is Murang'a County. Believed to be the cultural cradle of the Gikuyu people, Murang'a County has a total population of about 942,581 people, with the males taking 48% and the females 52%, according to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics 2009 National Census Report. The county lies between 914 meters above sea level in the east and 3,353 meters above sea level along the slopes of the Aberdare Mountains in the west. The highest areas form the rain catchment areas from where most of the rivers draining the county originate. Hence, the county occupying a total area of 2,558 square kilometers. Initially known as Fort Hall in the colonial times, Murang'a is the largest town amongst other towns in the county. The county is run under the administration of the first devolved government, with Governor Francis Mwangi wa Iria as the first and current governor, Irungu Kenyatta as senator, Sabina Chege as women representative, and Kula Hache as county commissioner. The physical structure of the county consists of volcanic rocks, with the topography and geology of the county being both an asset and liability to the county's development, which has seen residents engage in small-scale farming and livestock keeping. With the backbone of Murang'a County's economy deeply rooted in agriculture, over 60% of small-scale farmers grow tea and coffee as the main cash crops. With Governor Mwangi wa Iria's past experience as a milk trader, Murang'a County is reaping big from its milk production, with milk producers recording a high of 127 million shillings in between 2015 and 2016. The milk trade, turning up to be a major income earner in the county, has seen a setup of 35 milk coolers, provision of free and guaranteed artificial insemination services, supply of free high-yielding fodder and sweet potato vines to its members to boost productivity. The county's mandate is derived from the Presidential Circular number 1 of May 2008. In this, the department is tasked with developing trade policies, looking at promotion of retail and wholesale markets with a look at development of micro and small businesses, fair trade practices and consumer protection, and the private sector development.
The history of maritime dates back to 2004, when the Kenya Maritime Authority was established in order to oversee the transfer of responsibilities in shipping matters from the Kenya Ports Authority to an autonomous state corporation. In 2006, it was legally constituted under the Kenya Maritime, with its mandate being to regulate, coordinate, and oversee maritime affairs in the country. A new version was amended in 2009, the Merchant Shipping Act. The Act provides the basis for addressing maritime safety, security and training, as well as opening opportunities for investment in water transport and related. Kenya lies on the direct path of one of the busiest international shipping lanes in the world, with estimated 50 vessels of various types operating there at any given time. These vessels will very likely to be oil tankers ferrying the commodity from the rich fields in the Middle East countries, varying in displacement from 50 to 250,000 metric tons. With the coastline measuring over 600 kilometers from Tanzania in the south to Somalia in the north, Kenya has always been a major player in maritime affairs, extending back to the 5th century.
Welcome to another learning lesson right here on Street BHR, where we test your general knowledge on business and financial terms. I'm your host, Brenda Nyamichaba. Now, the recent supplementary budget for 2019 and 2020 came with effect after its reduction to just 73.4 billion Kenyan shillings. Of note was key misses of funds for the top 4 agenda for the Jubilee government. Capital expenditure of 24.8%, lower than the IMF's recommendation of 30% threshold by the International Monetary Fund. Now, the term we're looking at today is capital expenditure. Well, have you heard of it before? Let's go find out.
Capital expenditure is the money spent to start a business or a business venture.
That's how maybe you budget on your something, just generally budgeting.
Capital expenditure is the money in the consolidated fund. Now the government looks into it to see how it will spend its money through its budget.
This is the money that is being used by an organization or a business in acquiring the assets for itself, either buying land, motor vehicles, or something like we call fixed assets.
Is the money that you use to open up a business, the initial amount of money that you use to open up a business. So it means the money that you're going to spend on the capital that you're using, on the money that you've already opened up a business with.
It's the amount of money which we normally use on a daily basis, and actually before you do the budget. And the turnover, the capital turnover, that is the expenditure, which is the GDP, the gross domestic product, and the GDP at the end of the year, and actually what you have already saved at the end of the day after you have spent the rest of the money of the amount which you have.
It's the amount of money that one uses for their needs. Could either be personal needs or in terms of business, it could be either the money that you use in running, the daily activities of a business.
Capital expenditure is the gross expenditure or the net expenditure spent by the government. Actually, like it's the entire expenditure the government plans to spend in its economic in a given financial fiscal year.
Now, there's nothing I love better than getting the chance to see your answers when it comes to business and financial terms. And this time around, we were exploring capital expenditure just to get to know what exactly it is you understand by that term. Now we're back in studio and we're going to break it down for you from an economic expert. And the individual joining me today is the one and only Samson Mudia. Thank you so much for joining me once again.
Thank you.
Now, Samson, what is capital expenditure?
In simple terms, I would like maybe to say capital expenditure. We usually call it as CapEx. These are amounts, yes, not too much complications, but these are funds or even monies a company use to buy, maintain, its companies in terms of buildings, lands, vehicles. So totally these are funds used by a company in terms of either maintaining or even buying new in terms of items for a company, in terms of running a company. Yeah, you might not, maybe sometimes you don't have maybe land, you want to expand your business in terms of building, you want to own your own building, that is money you use maybe to buy the buildings. You don't have a car, that are the funds you use maybe to buy a company's car.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now on that note, why is it important for an economy to focus on its resources to generate revenue?
One, it's very important because I can be able to say it focuses on key factors of productions. Because if they don't improve, that means even the companies in terms of private sector are not going to improve. Like for example, in terms of roads, they don't maybe spend and expand their roads in terms of infrastructure.
Okay.
No business is going to thrive. So it's very important if they want to reciprocate in terms of what the private sector is doing, and they want the private sector in terms of improve and spend and invest more in the country. They need to improve in infrastructure, in terms of enabling environment, in terms of entrepreneurship. Yeah.
Okay. Now looking at into last year, what are some of the ways Kenya missed on utilizing its resources, especially when it comes into revenue generation?
One, I'd say in terms of improvement of infrastructure, you can be able to see in terms of people who are in business, they were complaining about access roads maybe to their destination of like for example, if I go to agribusiness, where farmers are bringing their produce, it takes a long time in terms of the produce reaching the market. But if the access road in terms of infrastructure was very well, it will be take a shorter time so that they can be able to trade, and immediately that reciprocates to the government in terms of tax.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for that
Thank you.
explanation. Well, there you have it. That is capital expenditure. I do hope you got to learn as much as I did today on this episode of Studio Shower, which brings us to the end. But I'll
In this world full of conformity, I dare you to be different. I dare you to stand out. I dare you to stand tall, to stand firm. I dare you to walk in the direction you know is right for you. The direction you know is right. Full stop. I dare you. In this world full of followers, I dare you to be a leader, an innovator, a game changer. I dare you to stop following the crowds. Stop following trends. Stop listening to rubbish advice. And instead, follow your intuition. Open your eyes. See through the BS. I dare you to be different. In this world full of sheep, I dare you to be a lion. To get out there and hunt your goals. Not to wait for things to happen, to make things happen. To get hungry for a life less than ordinary. To get hungry for growth. To get hungry for magic. Do you want an average life or a magic life? In this world that is asleep, I dare you to be different. I dare you to dream. I dare you to dream bigger. Bigger than they told you was possible for your life. In this world full of lazy, uninspired people, I dare you to be different. I dare you to talk less and work more. I dare you to take action on everything you've been wanting to do. Everything you want to achieve. Go get it. Go all in for your goals. Sacrifice for your dreams. In this world of greed, I dare you to be different. I dare you to stand up for what is right. To think of others with the same care as yourself. To do what is right first. Before profit. Before achievement. Before everything. Let's call it integrity. In this world of blindness, I dare you to open your eyes and see. Take a good look around. Become self-aware. Aware of your strengths. Aware of all the things you need to work on. Take responsibility for where you are and accept the challenge to get where you must go. Are you prepared to fight for your dream life? I dare you to be different. I dare you.
Each year, we outline critical strategies aimed at boosting the manufacturing sector through the Manufacturing Priority Agenda. The main reason we remain committed to this continuous process is so that our stakeholders, and mainly government, understand our dedication to providing practical solutions to the problems facing our country. Industry is currently operating in a very constrained fiscal environment. If we're able to achieve even 50% of our industry asks this year, the change in the economy will be immediate and far-reaching. Ideally, progressive tax policies are meant to create an environment for industry to thrive, and for this to happen successfully, tax measures need to be easy to effect, coherent, and predictable. The need to be designed to complement the overall economic ambitions of the country. However, so far, most tax measures specific to industry have not achieved this. And this is not an opinion by manufacturers alone. Last month, Stanbic Bank discussed their managers' index on manufacturing, observed that many manufacturers are opting to leave the country for better alternatives in the region. Their biggest pain points being an unpredictable environment and increasingly unplanned taxation. The government also suffers because revenue collection continues to be hampered, thus constraining the fiscal space to undertake development projects. And this has also been emphasized by the Parliamentary Budget Office whilst unpacking the 2021 budget policy statement. We need to urgently rethink our economic trajectory, a swift about turn to prevent further decline and to start stimulating growth. The solution lies in giving business room to do business, and the country needs to create a space that provides the much-needed stimulus for industry to grow, become competitive, and increase productivity.
Welcome to the home of beaches, luxury, and entertainment. County 001, Mombasa County. Mombasa County is Kenya's second largest city after the capital Nairobi, with an estimated population of about 1.5 million people. The county is further divided into 6 sub-counties, namely Mvita, Jamvu, Changamwe, Kisauni, Nyali, and Likoni, each headed by an elected member of parliament, and further divided into 30 wards that are each headed by ward representatives. It is under the administration of Governor Ali Hassan Joho, who is deputized by Dr. William Kingi, Mohammed Faki as senator, Asha Hussain as woman representative, and Evans Achoki as county commissioner. Mombasa is a regional, cultural, and economic hub with an extra-large port and an international airport. Located on the east coast of Kenya, it is an important regional tourism center and is also a second capital to most people. Strategically placed along the Indian Ocean, it has been controlled by many countries due to its historical trading center. Being a tourism destination, it contributes largely to Kenya's tourism industry, which contributed a total of 294.6 billion shillings to the country's economy in 2017. According to a Jumia Hospitality report of 2019, the numbers represent approximately about 3.7% of the total GDP, which by the end of 2018 expected to rise by 5.2% to reach 310.1 billion shillings. Mombasa County is your #1 holiday destination.
welcome to another learning lesson right here on Street Biashara, where we test your general knowledge on financial and business terms. I'm your host, Brenda Nyamichaba. Now, East Africa Cable is in talks with SBM Kenya, which is seeking to liquidate the loss-making manufacturer for defaulting on servicing a 285 million Kenyan shilling unsecured loan. The term we're looking at today is liquidation. In simple words, let me get to your understanding of this term, so let's go and find out.
Liquidation is a process whereby a company gets rid of its assets by selling the company. It's selling its assets so that the company can be wound up, be no more.
Liquidation, it doesn't even happen here. It happen liquidation ingine. It happen United States, no.
In English term is digestion of something. Okay. So like if you want to liquidate an asset, like I have a bundle of money, I want to pieces, it's almost like a liquidation.
Liquidation?
Liquidation is a process of no, please. I got it wrong. So
changing a fixed asset into cash.
Maybe I make a pesa kwa bank.
Let's say you have assets that you sell and you get cash back.
Liquidation is a term we come across quite a lot, whether we're talking about companies or we're reading it on the newspapers. Now, when I went to the streets to get to know whether you understand this term, I got very interesting answers, but guess what? We're back in studio and we're going to get a clear explanation of what liquidation is. And the economic analyst joining me today is the one and only Mr. Nahashan Otieno. Thank you so much for joining me on Street Biashara once again.
You're welcome.
Now, let's just get down to it and you break it down for us. So what is liquidation?
Liquidation in finance or in economics simply means the process of ending a business entity.
Okay, straight to the process of ending a business entity.
Yeah, the process of ending a business entity.
Okay, now how are losses of a company shared after liquidation?
There are so many ways, but it depends also with the memorandum of the business entity. But if the partners or the shareholders can decide to agree on how to share the losses. If they don't agree, then they can go through the court system. If that one still, they don't go that, then they can do that through their contributions. So that the person who contributed a larger share bear the greatest burden.
Okay.
They incur the greatest loss. Then the person who shared,
the least,
who contributed the least, incur the least share, the least losses. And like, just the same way, if there were profits made when it's being liquidated, then the person who contributed the largest share will want to do what? To get the most, or the larger part of the profit.
Okay.
So they can do that in terms of contribution or through court system.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Nahashan Otieno.
Thank you very much for that.
Well, there you have it. That's a clear explanation of what liquidation is. I do hope you understood as much as I did, because when I do come out to ask you this time again, I do hope you get the right answer. Now, that brings us to the end of this episode of Street Biashara. I'll see you in the next one.
When you feel like quitting, remember all of those who said you'd fail. When you feel like giving up, remember why you started. When you feel like quitting, remember what you're doing it all for. When you feel like quitting, remember pain is temporary and greatness lasts forever.
When you feel like quitting, remember that the pain you feel today will be replaced with the strength you need tomorrow. Remember that every ounce of pain you feel is building a stronger you, a stronger body, a stronger mind, and a stronger character. So push through the pain. Don't let it stop you. Force it to grow you.
Don't back down from the pain. Face it. Feel no pain. There is no pain. That painful last rep That's nothing. Give me more. Push harder.
Too tired, too hard, too busy, too early, too stressed. No excuses. Too tired, no excuses. Too hard, no excuses. Too busy, no excuses. Too early, no excuses. Too stressed, no excuses. When I feel like quitting, I remember there's too many people I need to prove wrong. When I feel like quitting, I remember I have too much to fight for. I will not quit.
Sleep in, death for grandma. I'm up, I'm ready to go. Quitting, that's for those who have no heart. I do not quit. Your greatest physique, your greatest health, your greatest strength, it doesn't come with average effort. If you want average results, keep showing up and giving average effort. If you want to be at your best, you will have to give your best effort. Make an oath to yourself that you will not walk out of any training session, any game, anything without giving 110% of your soul. Whatever you think is your limit, push past it. Whatever you think is your max, see if you can get 10% more out. Results don't lie. It all comes down to one simple question. How bad do you want it? And when you feel like quitting, give me 10 more.
Nothing great is going to come if you quit. I know it's hard. I know you are tired. I know it seems impossible, but you must keep going. Stick it out and get your reward.
The passage of the Tax Law Amendment Bill 2018 and the Finance Bill 2019 set the stage for implementation of the Big Four agenda through a provision of tax incentives to investors and business practitioners to accelerate capital ventures, as well as support good governance. The reclassification of agricultural pests control products is to the zero rate category in a case in point to support SMEs. In this current financial year, 2019 budget allocation to manufacturing was in leather. And actually we did allocate quite a large amount of money to the leather industry in terms to develop the infrastructure and also in agri-processing being part of the Big Four agenda. The Committee on Trade is pursuing consultation engagement with the Kenya Revenue Authority in unpacking the resultant effect in the short term and the impact of the turnover tax introduced in the Finance Act 2019. You all know about the turnover tax of the 3%. We are engaging finance to make sure that is well implemented and further consultation also. It's also important to note that the adoption of prudent macroeconomic policy will help safeguard Kenya's robust economic performance. Further fiscal consolidation is critical to avoid compromising public investment in critical infrastructure, key to unlock the economic productivity capacity as well as in manufacturing. Currently, ladies and gentlemen, we are considering the budget policy statement. And the budget policy statement provides the framework for the appropriation to the Big Four agenda in the fiscal year 2020-2021 and in the medium term. Alternative financing procedures, including the adoption of the public-private partnership, has been explored to support acceleration growth in the government priority sector. Recognizing the gains made in the fiscal year 2018-2019 with regard to tax waivers on SEZ, the government through the Finance Act 2019 has also provided for tax rebates to the development of special economic zones and the use of technology in the production chain. The enablers to realizing growth in manufacturing sector require a thorough, thought-out reform process that is geared toward addressing access to land, financing framework also.
Experts have argued on the origin of French beans, but most agree that it originates from Central and Southern America. Going by its botanical name Phaceolus vulgaris, the French bean was first domesticated in Peru about 6,000 years ago. It grows in the form of a bush that can reach up to 20 inches long. It flowers and produces bean pods, which are the edible part of the plant. They can be grown round the year with the aid of irrigation. There are about 130 varieties of the bean, but in Kenya, Samantha, Picasso, Buffalo, Morgan, Boston, among a few others, are the varieties you will come across. French beans are propagated through seeds planted directly to the field. You will require 25 to 30 kilograms of seeds per acre. It is advised that you plant single rows, one seed per hole, spacing them at 30 by 15 centimeters. But for double rows, then the spacing becomes 60 by 30 centimeters. For easy management, plant blocks of 4 single rows or 2 double rows with a 50 centimeter path in between. French beans grow well at an altitude of 1,000 to 2,100 meters above sea level. The beans mature faster in warm regions. The ideal growing temperature range between 21 and 27 degrees centigrades. French beans require well-distributed rainfall of 900 to 1,200 millimeters per year. Excess rains and prolonged drought result in poor yield. And they grow well on well-drained, rich in organic matter soils that are slightly acidic to alkaline with a pH value of 6.5 to 7.5. French beans are nutritious and have many benefits, among them being they help in fetal development when eaten during pregnancy. They prevent premature aging. They enhance bone health. They enhance heart health. They improve eyesight. They are rich in dietary fiber, which is essential in body fat regulation. They are a source of vitamin A, B, D, and K. French beans take 45 to 60 days to mature before harvesting can commence. For tasty bean pods, harvest the young pods 2 to 3 times in a week. This not only gives the best bean, but also encourages production. An acre can produce up to 6 tons. It is advised that you rotate the crop with crops that do not belong to the legume family. This helps in weed control, reduction of soil erosion, rejuvenation of soil organic matter, pests and disease management. Pests to look out for are bean fly, thrips, aphids, red spider mites, white flies, African bollworms, cutworms, and diseases such as rust, downy mildew, bacterial blight. In Kenya, French beans grow
This is your business brief at this hour. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiege. The government's ban on movement in and out of Nairobi, Mombasa, Kwale, and Kilifi counties has elicited mixed reactions, with many travelers having been caught off guard. Many were stranded on their way into Nairobi, while others were forced to cancel their travel plans as the ban took effect Monday evening. And as Victoria Munga reports, a number of inter-county bus termini in Nairobi remained deserted following the cessation of movement directive. Good. Now my colleague Nina Shaban spoke with the chairman of the Matatu Owners Association, Simon Kimutai, who indicated the public transport operators are now staring at millions of shillings in losses in the wake of the COVID-19 crisis. All right, the Kenya Railways Corporation has withdrawn the Madaraka Express train services that operated daily between Nairobi and Mombasa. Now, this is following the presidential directive on the cessation of movement in and out of the Nairobi metropolitan area, as well as Mombasa, Kwale, and Kilifi counties. Kenya Railways Corporation Managing Director Philip Mainga has emphasized that SGR and Meter Gauge Railway freight services will continue uninterrupted in accordance to the 24-hour schedule. Mainga further said that Nairobi commuter rail services to Ruiru, Embakasi, Syokimau, Kikuyu stations will continue to operate with a normal schedule. That is your business brief for this hour. Good afternoon.